Burn, baby, burn.
The wheels have fully come off. Donald Trump is getting the karma he deserves. The MAGA movement has completely crashed. Some of the biggest MAGA names are taken to the air to tell Donald Trump, you've destroyed the MAGA movement. We're hearing from Trump voter after Trump voter saying they are done, whether the crack began with the Epstein files, the tariffs against the world that Donald Trump promised was going to make everybody so wealthy, but destroyed their lives, whether it was the catastrophic war in Iran. Different people had different breaking points, but the commonality here is MAGA is in the toilet. And hey, Marjorie Taylor Greene was out there rallying a lot of the MAGA people to leave as well. So's Thomas Massie now. Let me show you what just went down. So you have Batya Ungar-Sarragan, one of Donald Trump's biggest proxies out there. And so she took to the air on News Nation. I mean, she's one of MAGA's biggest cheerleaders. And she said, Mr. President, your supporters are hurting. They need help. They need it from you. You gotta help us. Why are you doing this? I want you to see what happens when she goes on live TV and says, Donald, why'd you do this to us? Because that's who he is. Here, play this clip.
Mr. President, your supporters are hurting. People who voted for you 3 times, who would walk over Legos covered in hot coals to vote for you, are broke. Some are skipping meals. Others are buying canned chicken in bulk because that's all they can afford. The cost of food and gas is just so high. People are finding it impossible to pay for their kids' after-school sports once they fill up the car with gas. People who support you and support the war in Iran, who were willing to pay a little more to make sure our grandkids don't have to live with the threat of a nuclear-armed terror state, who were willing to pay a little more for the possibility of reshoring our great manufacturing base with tariffs, well, they've paid all they can. Some are expressing anger and frustration. They feel that they voted for you to bring down the costs. Others are just quietly skipping meals. And contrary to what some in your administration keep saying, it's not just vibes. Inflation is eating up wage growth, and then some. Gas is $4.50 a gallon as we head into the summer travel season. The producer price index is up 6% as we head into grilling season. Savings are at an all-time low. 13% of credit card balances are now over 90 days delinquent, the highest since 2011. You keep saying that the stock market is doing great, and that is true. But the gains of the economy and nearly all consumer spending are concentrated in the top 10%. Everyone else is broke. You keep saying that gas will plummet when Operation Epic Fury is over, and there's a new memorandum of understanding on the table. But even if there is a deal, it will take a lot of time for gas to come down. And in the meantime, the American people need something to get them through the slog. Your supporters need help, Mr. President, and they need it from you. We brought in $200 billion in tariff revenue. Couldn't some of that be shared with Americans struggling to put food on the table?
Then we heard from Caroline Sunshine. Again, she was a former Trump 2024 campaign communications director. And if you remember some of the videos I've been doing, she was out there early on in 2025 as one of Donald Trump's biggest cheerleaders. There was nothing Donald Trump could do that was wrong. And here she is on CNN saying, okay, Donald, you want to brag that you have 100% of MAGA support? MAGA's done. MAGA's gone. You have 100% of a little tiny sliver of your cult. You destroyed it, Donald. This is Caroline Sunshine, one of Donald Trump's literal proxies out there. Here, play this clip.
What are you hearing from your friends in the White House for speaking out like this publicly?
It's a good question. I don't hear a lot. I wish they would maybe pick up the phone more. I think that there's an information ecosystem around the president right now that is designed to keep opinions like mine out or demonize supporters like me as disloyal and not relevant to hear from. And that needs to change. The president is not getting an information ecosystem around him right now that is giving him the full picture of where his base is at. I am the president's base, and the base is leaving. There was a poll on your network, you know, showing 100% of MAGA supports this war. But who's MAGA? Who's MAGA? Because what I'm hearing from everyone is I'm a 3-time Trump voter and I'm not MAGA anymore. I'm now non-MAGA. MAGA, the base is leaving because they don't agree with this conflict and they don't believe that this is what they voted for, and they're correct.
And then you had Dave Smith, a MAGA podcaster, calling Donald Trump on the latest episode a big, dumb, orange animal. Play the clip.
He's a big, dumb, orange animal who's never read a book and is, you know, just kind of, I don't know, like a shitty person. And all the conservatives, we're going to get to Michael Knowles in a second, but Michael Knowles included, if we were in a more free environment to say how we actually felt, Michael Knowles would also concede that Donald Trump is like a horrible person.
And then hearing from Trump voters like this Trump voter who says he don't care about us anymore. Play this clip.
I'm President Trump. I'm in charge. He doesn't care about us. Somebody asked him about a week ago, what about the American people? And they're struggling right now.
To what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit.
He did not care. I couldn't even watch that. I was angry after that. Like, I voted for you and you don't care about me?
Last year,
or this voter saying he screwed us on gas prices, the cost of food. Here, play this clip.
He's only delivered on one promise, pretty much, is the giving back on taxes. He hasn't really done much with gas prices or cost of food or cost of living.
Has your opinion of him changed at all since he's actually been in power?
Yes.
And how has it changed?
Negatively.
Tell me why.
Just because he hasn't delivered on much of his promises.
Or this Trump voter said, all right, he got a little bit carried away. He seems that he's more focused on going to wars with Israel against places in the Middle East than focused on the American people. Play this clip.
I voted for Trump too. I'm not saying I disagree with him, but I think it's getting a little bit carried away. He's more concerned about the war over there and killing everybody over here with increased prices, and he just doesn't seem to care. And this big, beautiful bill didn't help me.
Or you remember this clip I showed you recently, this 3-time Trump voter who calls into C-SPAN and says how ashamed, how embarrassed he is that he would vote for Donald Trump. Let's play this clip.
Hard for me to say this, but I think if I can open up about it in public, that it might help others. I wanted to believe Trump was the real deal for a long time, even though I had doubts because I knew enough about his business history to think otherwise. But now I regret my support for him, and I should have known better. He's making it plain as day. He's a con man, a liar, doesn't keep his promises. He's in office all for himself, and he doesn't even try to hide his corruption anymore. So unless you get all your information from what I call the right-wing propaganda for profit, disinformation, media, industrial complex, he's the worst president we've ever had, and he's the most corrupt president we've ever had. I know it's hard. It took me a while to be able to say that. Very difficult when you commit yourself to believing in somebody.
But then you have the Project 2025 architect, Kevin Roberts, bragging that all of the things that they wanted to do in Project 2025 were implemented. Remember when Donald Trump was trying to claim on the campaign and all of the corporate news was letting Trump spew the propaganda and be like, oh, I don't know who Project 2025 is. I don't know who Kevin Roberts is. Yeah, we do. Here, watch Kevin Roberts here. Let's play this clip.
Did the president implement Project 2025 in this first year plus of his second term?
Well, thanks for that question, because since 1980, Heritage has been offering presidential transition projects, which we generally call Mandate for Leadership. What's known as Project 2025 was done on such a scale that we proposed 1,913 recommendations. 1,055 as we sit here have been implemented. The person who deserves credit for that is one Donald J. Trump. If we played a role through our policy scholarship, through message testing and helping to craft public opinion upstream of electoral politics, that's great. Heritage exists not to take credit, but to offer great ideas.
And you take a look where Donald Trump is also losing a lot of his support at. I mean, he's losing support amongst his kind of core base, the non-college educated white voters. That was his crew, non-college educated white. He's underwater with non-college educated white. Play this clip.
It's the group that helped put him in the White House in 2016. And then again in 2024, the group that shifted tremendously from 2012 to 2016 and put him in the White House. We are talking about non-college white voters, and he is sliding right into the water. This is a rut-row moment, to quote the great Scooby-Doo. Trump's net approval rating with non-college whites. Look at this. In February of 2025, it was plus 32 points. Down it goes. Look at Johnny. Johnny is just shocked by this number. And now it is minus 2 points. That is a 34-point shift. And I will note this is an average of polls. This is not just one poll. I've averaged 3 different polls here, 3 big pollsters. And what we see is Donald Trump actually underwater with non-college whites who, of course, put him in the White House. Really moment? Yes, really, John.
Yeah, again, I have to ask, really, because it's a 34-point swing among white voters who didn't go to college, which, again, one of his core groups here. Why? What issues?
Why? I mean, let's talk about the economy. It's the economy, Smarty, when I'm talking with Mr. Berman. Just take a look here. I mean, again, look at this. On the economy, his net approval rating, non-college whites. You go back to February 2025, he was 26 points above water. Look at this shift. Minus 15 points. 15 points underwater with non-college whites when it comes to Donald Trump's net approval rating on the economy. That is an over 40-point shift away from the president with a key core group of his. Ruh-roh.
What about the war?
What about the war? Well, the war ain't helping him because just take a look here. Non-college whites net approval rating of U.S. military action against Iran, minus 5 points. You think that's low? Come over to this side of the screen. How about Trump on Iran? Minus 13 points. A very unlucky 13 indeed for the president of the United States with a key core group of his. It turns out he's alienating a lot of folks with this war, not just the Pope.
And then also people who didn't vote in the 2024 election, Trump's net negative 50, or play this clip.
Ones that are changing, that are moving, that are different than the last election.
You know, you mentioned the Republican base in your intro, and then obviously there's the Democratic opposition. But what about those who didn't cast a ballot at all in 2024? Those who didn't show up to vote? Well, they have become absolutely perturbed. I dare say they are pissed off at the president of the United States. Voters who didn't cast a ballot in 2024. Trump's net approval rating. Back in November of 2024, just after the election, look at his net approval rating. It was plus 4 points for his plans in office. But look at that. It is fallen. Yeah. Whoo! There you go, Sarah Seidner. That's the only sound you can make. It has fallen through the floor. Look at this. Minus 50 points on Trump's net approval rating among voters who did not, in fact, cast a ballot in 2024. That is, you don't have to be a mathematical genius, an over 50-point move against the president of the United States among those who are kind of like, meh, you know, in terms of voting in 2024. But now they are pissed off.
Well, and that's the thing.
And then when you look at red state after red state on a map, whether it's Texas, whether it's Ohio, whether it's Florida, whether you name the state, he's underwater often in double digits in these states. I mean, negative 20 here, negative 22 here, negative 20 here. In ruby red states, I might add. Take a look at this right here. MAGA couple reveals why they dumped Trump's movement. It's an article that just came out. A Georgia couple abandoned MAGA after they say they were personally affected by Donald Trump's policies. Duh. He destroyed our lives, they say. Ron was a 55-year-old construction analyst for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. And he told the outlet that he was furloughed amid the administration's haphazard DOGE initiatives. He goes, "We voted for Trump, not realizing he was going to slam us as hard as he did. He destroyed my life, which affects my family's life." He goes on to say, "I just remember being content when thinking that he was what we needed and he was going to drain the swamp in Washington until he got into office this third election, and realizing that I'm dumb as a rock and I believed everything that I was spoon-fed. Then his wife, Chrissy, said, you know, I was a lifelong Republican, just believed I was a conservative. There's no thought behind it. You listen to Fox News, you listen to conservative outlets, and you're spoon-fed this stuff. She recalled thinking when Trump first came onto the scene, he's going to fix it. He's a businessman. He's going to help us. But then she realized he destroyed our lives. I'm so damn dumb. How could I fall for this? I'm stupid, is what she's telling the outlets. Meanwhile, you have Michael. I could show you tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of posts. I'll just show you this one, Michael Leak. So if you've noticed your car burning through gas fast, it's because the Trump administration has allowed oil companies to use E15 in our gas. What is that exactly? Instead of your fuel containing 10% ethanol, and now is 15% ethanol, let me dumb it down for you more. They are watering it down so it burns faster. They lower the price slightly, but now you have to buy more. I cannot wait until the midterms and the next election. I went from having to fill up my box truck every other day to every day. The cost of fuel is hurting my business drastically, so now I have to do what everyone else is doing, raise my prices, so now you have to pay more at the pump and the register for your everyday goods. I voted for Trump, and I very much regret my decision right now. Or how about the Trump voting lobster farmer on tariffs? The more time that goes by, the worse it is. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to do these tariffs against the world. You have this account right here who said, I voted for Trump twice. I was tired of woke culture and cancel culture invented by the left. I wasn't Trump's biggest fan, but I thought he would deliver on his promise and make life affordable again, which is important to me as Gen Z. I think we can all agree he did not deliver, not even close, did quite the opposite. And now I'm regretting not choosing woke because my gas is almost $4.30 here in Texas. Eric Spracklin, big MAGA guy. This is not the same man I voted for. I honestly can't even recognize him anymore. I am absolutely disgusted, an absolutely disgusted betrayal. MAGA boomers, please wake up. Trump does not care about you. Then you have the factory closures like the North Carolina Goodyear plant as a result of tariffs. And this was in a MAGA area, I might add as well. Fayetteville, North Carolina, 1,700 jobs lost because of tariffs. You know, they didn't necessarily say it's because of tariffs is when you read between the lines of what's going on. And all Donald Trump cares about with all of this taking place is the reflecting pools and Freedom 250 and this and that. And, you know, you've got Trump's cabinet members like Interior Secretary Doug Burgum going on TV and saying things like this. Here, play this clip.
Partisan, but there are questions from Democrats about where this private funding is coming from, and it's not transparent. Do you think that that should be opened up to the public so that people see where it's coming from?
I think transparency is always a good thing. And of course, I work for the president that I think is the most transparent ever. I mean, there's not a CEO in the country that invites the entire press pool into their board meetings. And we haven't had a cabinet meeting in the first 6 months.
So you're going to make the donors to Freedom 250 public?
Well, that's up to the Freedom 250 organization and their arrangements with their donors.
You're a leader there, right?
The Freedom 250 organizations run out of the White House. But it is not it's not about the transparency of the donors, and again, how utterly ridiculous is that? Or you have Jim Jordan, MAGA sycophant, going on TV and saying this. Play this clip.
So I do think when you step back, that's the big difference here. President Trump, who is as sharp as could be, same age as Joe Biden, but his health is in great condition and his mental acuity is as strong as ever, versus Joe Biden, and they were treated differently because of that. I don't know that that makes sense. And again, it's one of the reasons I think it's important we get this information.
Biden this, Biden that. Enough people are sick and tired of this, and the MAGA movement is crashing. I want to bring on someone named Phil Weiser. I'm sure you know Phil Weiser. He's the Attorney General in Colorado, someone who has held Donald Trump accountable, who has exposed Donald Trump's criminality, grift, fraud, a true fighter for the people. Let me bring in Phil Weiser right now. He's running for governor of Colorado to talk about how you fight against this MAGA mess, this Trump fraud. Let's bring him in. Phil Weiser running for the governorship of Colorado. Great to see you, Phil. All eyes are on Colorado right now after the current governor, Governor Polis, pardoning Tina Peters, which just felt like the ultimate betrayal. And it's, cozying up to Trump. It feels like backing down to these intimidation tactics. And to me, it creates a reward structure for this behavior, to me, which is patently fascist. And when the bully is able to achieve the results through the bullying, the bully doesn't go away. The bully comes back for more and more and more. So now, in my view, Trump's saying, you know what? Colorado's an easy mark. I'm just going to go back and bully that state because they're going to back down. And you've been standing up against Donald Trump. You filed dozens and dozens, 65 plus lawsuits successfully against Donald Trump. So he knows that's not the case, but you're running for governor. Talk to us about it's an odd moment to see this in Colorado, though, at the governor's level.
Well, this has been a conversation that's been brewing between those who say we should try to accommodate, make nice, and those who say we should stand strong and fight for our principles. 100 years ago, by the way, Colorado elected a governor, Billy Adams, who ran on a platform of standing strong against the KKK, which in control of Colorado. We have a governor here, Ralph Carr, who stood strong against internment camps for Japanese Americans. So there's a tradition in Colorado of standing strong for our principles. Like many in our party, I don't understand Governor Polis's action to commute the sentence of Tina Peters. For those who haven't paid attention to the story, she broke the law. She broke her oath of office. She undermined the election equipment at a cost of millions of dollars. I prosecuted her along with the Republican District Attorney, Dan Rubenstein. Dan and I did this together because it was about the rule of law. It's about protecting our elections. It's about doing what's right. Those are Colorado values. Those are American values. I'm going to keep standing strong for them. In this race, I'm running against our senior Senator Michael Bennet, who voted for more of Trump's cabinet than almost any Democrat in the Senate. And we've had this debate where I've said, why did you support, for example, Brooke Rollins, an agriculture secretary? And I've sued her 4 times, twice because she tried to withhold SNAP benefits from 600,000 Coloradans who needed that food. One of those was during the shutdown, a cruel effort. Another was actually part of the campaign to get us to relent on Tina Peters. Both times I went to court, both times we won, and I had to ask my opponent at a recent debate, how much more damage would our agriculture secretary have to do to Colorado before you would withdraw your support for her, before you wouldn't stand by her? He didn't answer the question. This is a key moment for all Americans. What's the answer to a lawless bullying administration? Is it trying to make nice? Is it trying to accommodate? Or is it standing strong for the principles that we believe in? And I believe deeply in the rule of law. In our Constitution, I will never waver from defending it.
What we're seeing out of Washington, D.C., to me, is something even beyond corruption. To use the word corruption alone kind of dilutes it and puts it into this, hey, it's politics, it's corrupt, it's the machine, which this is at a level where it has normalized, frankly, a criminal cartel style, RICO enterprise that goes around and starts doing, the 3,700 stock trades in Q1 while the CEOs are there in the White House with him, while the Trump family is making all of this money and on government contracts before our eyes, the crypto money, the quid pro quos, and then seeing how profoundly negatively it's impacting the people, that while the focus is on enriching them, the people are just getting so screwed, and they see him doing reflecting pools and UFC stadiums. And it's like, I know you tell me from the perspective of people in Colorado, what the hell is this?
This is a moment in American history that we need to fight for what Lincoln said our government is, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Right now, this administration is running a government of billionaires, of big companies, by big companies and billionaires, and for billionaires and big companies. I'll give you a couple examples. We in Colorado care about reasonable prices for concert tickets and don't appreciate having Ticketmaster, a monopoly, jack up our ticket prices. Well, this administration cut a sweetheart deal with Ticketmaster, and they dropped the antitrust case for a slap on the wrist because this administration pays attention to high-priced lobbyists and who's in, and they'll cut deals for their friends and they'll punish enemies. My view, I'm only in it for the people. I'm not in it for the big companies, for the out-of-state billionaires. I'm taking Ticketmaster all the way to court along with other state AGs, a bipartisan coalition. We pressed on. We won the case. We're going to work to break up this company to fight for consumers who have been mistreated. And consumers are going to notice who's fighting for you and who's cozying up to the big companies. The Trump administration is cozying up to all sorts of companies, giving them all sorts of breaks. Me, I'm fighting for people. I'll stand against anyone who harms the people of Colorado. Just another example, this $1.8 billion insurrectionist slush fund that they say they want to support people like Tina Peters. This is the opposite of what you might call the rule of law or justice and accountability. Look what they're doing right now. Tina Peters is a convicted criminal. She was condemned widely. She's going to get paid serious money for her crimes. We need to stop this. Congress needs to do something about this because a Department of Justice that has been turned on its head to advance injustice, to support the well-off against those of us who are working hard to play by the rules, it's so wrong. It's so hard to watch.
Right. The Republicans say, well, all we're allowing people like Tina Peters to do is to have a cause of action. I mean, the way they gaslight Attorney General Weiser, it's just giving them a cause of action, and then our commission will evaluate the claims, and then we'll go from there. It's like, you know what they have? They have something called a court system. And when you're convicted in a criminal court system for felonies or even misdemeanors, you don't then get to say, you know what? I may have been convicted, but I should get paid the money as the person who gets convicted. We have a system. I was a civil rights litigator before starting this network. And when you'd represent people who were wrong, you would file a lawsuit. It would go to federal court. It would get assigned to a federal judge. The judge could be the gatekeeper on summary judgment. You would see if there are immunities that apply in certain government-related cases. If it get past it, you go to a jury. You convince the jury. They award you money. That's our system. That's our system. There are other countries, Russia, North Korea, they've got different systems. And so fundamentally, what I appreciate about what you do in Colorado, but fundamentally to me, the core issue is, are we the United States? Because here's our system. Sure, it gets messy. It gets messy sometimes. You know, it's slower. You know, it's deliberative. It's really, but do you want this system or do you want the Russia system or Kim Jong-un? Like, to me, it's that existential right now. And your race too. It's that existential.
Do you believe in the rule of law and everyone being protected by the Constitution? Or do you believe in lawlessness and corruption and the wealthy few and the powerful get what they want and the rest get screwed? That's what this is all about. Let me just give you the ICE example because it is very much, like you said, from another country. If you said they're masked agents who are grabbing people off the street and sending them to other countries with no legal process, with no right to be heard, with no determination about their legal situation, you would say that can't happen in the United States of America. Well, this administration has that very agenda. And we saw in Minneapolis the ugly face and the ugly side of what's happening, and people were horrified. We need to channel that horror, that outrage against this administration and get engaged. Everyone can find their candidates. You can find me at philforcolorado.com as someone who stands up for what is truly the American way. And you said it so well. It's about making sure we protect everybody. We give everybody due process of law. We stand up for civil rights and we stand up against powerful companies. That's the American way. If you read the Declaration of Independence, if you read the Constitution, it is a commitment to what I talked about earlier, government of the people, by the people, for the people. This administration is perverting it all because for them, it's only about power. It's only about rewarding people they say are their friends and punishing enemies. In America, it's about equal justice for all. No matter who you are, whatever political party, rich or poor, you've got a right to be treated fairly. This administration is turning those values on its head. We can't let them get away with it.
And I want to geek out with you a little bit, you know, from lawyer to lawyer, because you said something, you know, there, you know, the Constitution is a commitment. And it is also kind of a contract. It is a commitment. It is by the people, for the people, and commitments, contracts don't list every single term because you can't just list every single provision everywhere. So contracts, as you and I know, involve implied covenants of good faith and fair dealing. And this great American experiment heading into 250 years had a lot of implied covenants of good faith and fair dealing in the Constitution. When I teach law, I say, look how short this amendment is. Look at the First Amendment. Look at this. Like, these are not long things. They set out commitments. And so when you're a commitment breaker and you say, you know what, I don't want to do that, I think then you get into this zone where you go, oh, got it. So here's how I'm not going to do court systems. I'm going to create a commission on my own, and they're just going to give out the money. And it's like, no, that's not. And it requires, I think, people who think creatively to deal with this iteration of this fascism, because it's coming at us from angles that I don't think the founders even anticipated, or that logical law thinkers or professors or practitioners thought would come at us at this moment. If that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And when you think about these majestic phrases like due process of law, let me tell you what it means. Everyone deserves to be treated fairly. Everyone has a chance to be heard, which means if you're here as an immigrant, the 14th Amendment says you get due process of law. And we need to have an immigration system that is sensible, that's fair, that's humane, and under the law. This is personal for me. I am a first-generation American. My mom was born in a Nazi concentration camp on April 13th, 1945. My grandmother's an amazing woman. She was a hopeful person, and she believed in the United States of America as a country that did treat everybody fairly, that gave everybody freedom and an opportunity to succeed. And my family, the difference between my mom being born in that concentration camp and me, I went to law school. I worked for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court. I worked as an advisor to President Barack Obama in the White House. I'm Colorado's Attorney General. I will be Colorado's next governor. That's one generation. That's what America's about. It doesn't matter who your parents are. It doesn't matter if you know secret handshakes. It matters, are you willing to work hard? Are you willing to believe in the values of this country? That's the America I know and love. That's the America I'm fighting for. That's on the ballot. It's on the ballot in this election that I'm about to have in Colorado. Other elections, we, the people, can seize power and govern and preserve this republic. We have a lot of work to do.
Phil, we got a primary coming up before the generals. You know, I know you're very busy. We've got 7 million subscribers here as well. I know you're on the campaign trail going around the great state of Colorado right now. What's your final message to our audience, and where can people learn more about the campaign?
Wherever you are, whether you're in Colorado or elsewhere, I encourage you to get engaged, to find the type of leadership that you believe in, you can get behind. This is a moment for our republic to have leaders who are fearless, who are fighting for people, who know how to get stuff done. I've been Attorney General now for 8 years. I've taken on Big Pharma, brought back about $1 billion to Colorado with the best framework to address the opioid crisis anywhere in the U.S. I'm fighting MAGA in federal court. I'm leading a case of basically almost all the states. It'll be this summer because of how they're harming our kids. I've taken on the Trump administration 65 times and counting, stopping their lawlessness, leading on a number of important cases. You can learn more about me, the work that I've been doing, the work I'm committed to do at philforcolorado.com. I encourage you to share information from my social media accounts, Phil for Colorado. I encourage you, if you can, donate to our cause. Help us show this great republic what government of the people, by the people, and for the people looks like. We've got a people power campaign. I'm running against someone with a PAC with out-of-state billionaires and companies, but I'm doing it the grassroots way. I've got Colorado Indivisible behind me. I've got lots of local elected officials, state elected officials, way more than my opponent, because I believe in grassroots politics, not Washington establishment politics. That's how we're going to win. Please join us, philforcolorado.com.
Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser running for the governorship, the great state of Colorado, an incredible state indeed. Great to see you, Phil.
Great joining you. Thanks so much.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.